Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Canadian jazz saxophonist Petr Cancura. We caught up with him in mid-April 2020 as the coronavirus lockdown began. We talked about his newest and latest 2020 CD, Songs of Tales, where the strange meets the beautiful, where simple songs are juxtaposed with sonic outlandishness, rhythm complexity, and the excitement of uncertainty that makes you think and rethink what you're listening to, a lot like what's going on in the world today. It was a great talk. Have a listen.
One of the functions of me calling you and talking about the music is that, you can have a chance to just kind of, delve into something positive for a little bit. So, and of course, it's an extraordinary time that we may never live through again to talk about, COVID-19 during this jazz era that we live in now. So thanks for taking a minute out.
Of course. I really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, let's talk about Songs of Tales. And this is going to be a two-part question. Talk to me about releasing this album, and talk to me about having material come out during this time where everybody's in quarantine and the uncertainty and just this era we're living through.
I'll just answer that one first, I guess. I felt like a little bit of as soon as everybody was ordered to stay home, I felt like all these musicians were asking themselves, okay, do we just shut everything down? Is this, is nobody going to pay attention to what we're doing? But I think this is the time when everybody else is realizing that without art, you'd go completely mad.
Yeah.
So it's actually, in that sense, it's great to put out music at this time. What's hard is that you don't get to support it with live tours, and who knows how long that's going to last. I think that's the biggest impact that this is having on musicians is the live performance angle. And I guess now that we couldn't even get together virtually, like in the same room. It all, that's the whole social distancing is making us all be solos. So I don't know. I feel like art is more important than ever. So let's make music. Let's make art.
I agree. I totally agree.
And then what was the other question you were asking, or?
Well, I think it was a combo. I mean, you recorded this at a pretty legendary studio in Vancouver, and just, I guess, the artistic vision behind this project.
Okay, so it actually came out of a concert series that I used to direct at the National Arts Center in Ottawa called Crossroads. And what I did was bring together musicians that might not necessarily play together and come up with these scenarios. And this was one of the things I really wanted to do, is bring this group together. I really love everybody in this group. I think everybody's an incredibly deep artist in this group. They all, Jesse Zubat was in Zubat and Dots, and all these groups that I really grew up listening to. Jean Martin was in a few groups that I really idolized kind of as well. Both those guys are, I would say, maybe not quite a generation older than me, but enough that when I was 17, they were in their early 20s or doing stuff that I was looking up to. And Gord is just such a powerhouse of a guitar player, and kind of what I like about all these musicians is that everybody can improvise, but everybody's really open-minded. Nobody is limited to a particular genre of music. So everybody can kind of be free, the instrumentation is a bit weird. So it was kind of interesting doing it for the first time, because we didn't have a bass, for example, right? It was horn, violin, which kind of acts like a horn, and then Gord would kind of often get an octave pedal and play a bit lower. But we started figuring it out, and this recording session was, I think, just kind of magical. Everybody really stepped up, and we just created these kind of canvases of sound And I think everybody was free to be themselves. That's the other thing I really like about this. Yeah, so to kind of sum it up, I think it's hard for me to speak for the other guys, of course, but from my point of view, it's a really authentic, honest record. We just really got together and tried to create what we thought was good music. Not trying to go after any. Again, I'm now starting to talk in circles, but I love that we didn't really have a template. It's not like this is a jazz record. This is not a pop record. It's not a singer-songwriter record. It's none of those things, but all of us has worked in all these different genres. So it made it hard, but I think in the end it made it much more rewarding.
Right on. So let's go back to the beginning of your life. Talk to me a little bit about growing up and how jazz became, where you were going to end up.
Sure. Well, I was born in Czech Republic and under the Eastern Bloc, and I escaped with my parents when I was 9 years old. That's a story in its own right. But nonetheless, we ended up in Austria for about 8 months, and then finally in Canada. And on my dad's side, everybody was a musician, so I was always kind of in music in one way or another. And then right in I would say my mid-teens, early to mid-teens, I just kind of got the bug and put a rock band together, and I loved performing. And right away, even though we were playing at that time kind of top 40 stuff, I never wanted to recreate any of the solos. I was playing guitar, and I just loved making stuff up. So then I kind of crossed over to saxophone because my dad was a saxophone player. And I just remember having my first saxophone lesson and my saxophone teacher going like, yeah, you might want to, he showed me a cassette tape at the time of John Coltrane, who I had no idea who that was. And he's like, you might want to listen to this. And then it was from then on, I didn't look back. I just went hardcore, couldn't stop practicing, couldn't stop playing, and that's what I was going to do.
Right on. So talk to me a little bit about what you like the best about being a musician.
There's a lot of things I like about being a musician. There's, first of all, I love trying to figure out kind of perspective on life as an artist. I love being able to inspire people. That didn't used to be a thing for me. I think I was in it more for myself, just for really being, just getting better at my instrument, getting better at the craft. But I don't know, about 6 or 7 years ago, I started realizing that if you actually look beyond your instrument and look in the audience and think about them, you actually have this power to inspire and to affect people. So that definitely became something I started thinking about more. And then I like creating these kind of situations where you create authentic music. That's kind of what I'm after. I have this we all have these set of unique influences and things that inspire us and turn us on in a way. And I like figuring out how to combine all those things and make a unique sound out of it that I feel really great about and that connects to other people. And I think this project is really in line with that.
We're living through a pretty unique time right now, and my question to you is this: what do you hope both the musician that gets back on stage and the audience member that gets back in the crowd realizes about the live jazz experience when they come back? Like any revelations, any new thoughts that may make things a little bit better and wiser when we get back?
I mean, I hope everybody realizes that we're all in this together, and really it's all about, like, everything is about people. If the people aren't there, then it doesn't matter. Half the things we're doing, half the things that we all do for a living don't really matter if you take the people part out of it. And records are really great because they're a way of, when you go in the studio, you get to create sort of a piece of art, but what you don't get is the interaction and the live energy. You can just never reproduce that on a record. So, and I think, I hope people realize that when you're the audience, you're actually not just the audience, but you're feeding the music. You really are part of the music. And the amount of energy you put into it, the musicians can feel that and they feed it right back. So I hope people realize that when we all can get together again.
It's weird. You said, well, it's not weird. You said that. It's totally true. I've been to enough shows where there is that electricity in the air. And one of the last shows I saw, and little did I know that things were going to become what we now term as BC, before coronavirus. And
yeah,
what I realized is I went to a Bill Frisell show at the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art. And towards the end of the show, right before their rendition of Ziggy Stardust, they played We Shall Overcome, and Petra, the singer, got up, and the whole crowd started getting up, and they all started singing it in unison. And now that I look back on that, which was the 4th of March, it's like there was a level of that being pretty prophetic without knowing what was going to happen. So it was interesting. But it wow. does feed into what you're saying, that, it was the power of that show, which was totally unique because, it was jazz, but it's, Bill's different. He's not... You can't really pin that down, just like you said, your album. It's like you can't pin it down to a specific genre.
Exactly.
But it was pretty cool that was one of the last live jazz moments that I had because, doing what I do, there's a lot of them. I love going out and seeing live music, so it was kind of a cool, comment on, what's going on right now before we start back up, or semicolon, or however, what metaphor works. Right. So let me ask you one final question. Everyone has a perception of you. I want to get to kind of the heart of the matter of who you are and why you do what you do. And everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, but you're living your life. Who do you think you are?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I consider myself I consider myself like a working class musician. So I piece my life together in a way that, to support our family, with my wife, who's also a musician and a music teacher. So I definitely think I'm a parent and a husband. But all of it makes me the artist I am. All of it makes me the musician. I remember when I got married, we just had our 10th year anniversary, and I remember thinking, am I going to be able to keep putting that amount of energy into music? But we got married, and then fairly quickly we had our first child, and I realized that it just gave me a stronger purpose and to get down to business faster and sooner and not waste time. So, I don't know. I feel like I'm realizing also through all this how important it is to be a well-rounded person, to be a really good musician. So of course, to study, and keep studying and keep working at it and keep playing and keep pushing forward, but to just be a good person as well. So I think I'd like to think that that's what I am. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah, no, that's great. Hey, thanks for taking a minute out today. Extraordinary times for all, and opening up about the album. Good luck with everything. Stay safe out there.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the phone call.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest cats in Canada, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Peter for his time, class, and stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.